Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Caroline Garnett McGraw, and I'm with The Clearing, a non 12-step dual diagnosis residential addiction treatment center. Translation, in the words of one of our participants, we learn all about how not to hate ourselves anymore. And that is a mission I think we can all get behind. So today, we're not just going to talk about our program, we're going to talk about the non 12-step approach overall and how you can tell whether or not it's right for you. So the first thing to say is that the non 12-step approach, while it has gained popularity in the last several decades, is still considered a little bit unconventional. The standard of treatment and care in addiction recovery is still the 12-step approach. According to American Addiction Centers, about 76% of all inpatient rehabs are 12-step based, which means that, if I can do the mental math, about 24% are non-12-step, or they're also called 12-step alternative. So the question is, how do you know which kind is right for you? These are the two major categories of treatment in the United States today, 12-step or non-12-step. So how do you know which one to choose? Well, one clue is that you're listening into this broadcast and you're open to the idea of going against the grain. And another clue is if you felt frustrated with treatment that you have received or just the state of the industry as a whole, if you feel like this is not working, this has not been effective for me, and maybe it's time to take a step back. And we know that for many people, the 12-step approach is really effective and is really helpful, and that is wonderful. But if you're someone who's already tried that and it just didn't click with you and it didn't connect with you, then it's time to look at some alternatives because they really are out there. And another way that you can tell that the non-12-step approach might be a good fit for you is if you already have a mental health diagnosis, if you have a concern or an issue that might include depression, anxiety, trauma, PTSD, bipolar disorder, issues surrounding despair, loss, any of these things. If you're already seeing a therapist and you already know that you have some mental health issues that you're working with, a non-12-step program gives you a much better chance of having what's called dual diagnosis treatment. So let me back up and just explain what that is for a minute. And also, I should say, it sounds like a very clinical, technical term, but all it means is that you have a mental health issue and a substance abuse issue together. So you have an addiction and you have depression. You have an addiction and you have anxiety. That's what dual diagnosis means. It means you have both of those things at once. And while, of course, not every rehab is created equal, in non-12 steps, you often see more of an emphasis on treating the mental health concern that often underlies the addiction. Because while 12-step groups can be wonderful and can be very, very supportive, they're not professional mental health care. They're free, they're led by lay people, and they're designed to be this very grassroots kind of support. And again, that's great if that's what's working for you. But if you know that you have a mental health diagnosis and you need that trained and that professional level of support, then a 12-step alternative or a non-12-step might make a lot more sense for you. So again, if you're willing to work with some of the underlying core issues that are driving your addiction, that depression, that anxiety, trauma, any of those concerns, then a non-12-step approach is very likely to be a good bet for you. So say you're ready for that. You're like, okay, I want to do a non-12-step approach, but I'm not sure what I should look for in a provider. So we can help with that in the last couple minutes of this Facebook Live. So obviously, as we said, the quality varies widely. Just because it's non-12-step doesn't mean it's good. Just because it's 12-step doesn't mean it's bad. You have to take each program and look at it really closely and see what they're offering. And so here are a couple of questions that you can ask as you're looking through websites, as you're making phone calls. These questions will help you get to the heart of, is this program substantial? Is it really going to help me? So the first question is, how many hours of professional counseling do you provide per day and per week? And don't be afraid to ask these questions, because if you're thinking of going to residential rehab, it's probably going to cost you a significant amount of money. That's just the reality. So you want to know what kind of care you're going to be getting. So ask about the number of professional counseling hours, then ask about the type of counseling that's provided. The fancy way of saying this is, what's the treatment modality? But all that means is, what's the type of counseling? What are you doing to help me overcome these core issues of depression, anxiety, trauma? What's the treatment being used? So some of the answers you might get could be cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive therapy, Gestalt therapy, family systems therapy. There's a whole laundry list of therapies that people could tell you. The point is, you want a clear answer for what the treatment modality is, and then you want to do your own research, and you want to see if that modality has been proven to be effective. You want to see if it's evidence-based. You want to understand what treatment you're going to be getting. And another question you could look at is, what is the daily schedule of this program? That's a great question, because it gets to the heart of how you're going to spend your time at rehab if you choose non-12-step approach. And be careful of a program that has a lot of filler and a lot of fluff, like, oh, we're going to have some breakfast, and then you're going to go walk on the beach, and then you'll have a really quick group meeting, and then you'll play volleyball. That could be a really fun vacation, but that's not going to get you very far in terms of recovering from your addiction. You want to look for counseling hours. You want to look for professional workshops. You want to look for the things that are actually going to make a big difference when it comes to changing your life. So finally, another question you could ask is, what is the training of the counselors? What are their certifications? You want to make sure that the people who are leading the program are qualified. You also want to ask, what is your success rate? That's not unreasonable to want to know how many people who go through your program are living their lives clean and sober. That gives you a good sense of whether it's realistic to hope that you could be one of them. So I hope that's been helpful, and I hope it encourages you. I just want to say, as we wrap up, that it used to be very, very difficult to find non-12-step addiction treatment. And while it can still be challenging, and you may very well have to travel from where you're currently living in order to find it, it is out there. There are a lot of really good programs that are springing up, and we currently serve 10 participants per 28-day session. So we know we can't help everyone, but we also know that there are other providers out there who are doing a good job. And we're proud to be a part of the industry that is slowly but surely changing for the better. So thank you for listening. And also, if you want additional camaraderie, support, if you want to connect with some like-minded people, we've recently started a Facebook group called Healing Underlying Core Issues, and I will post a link to that group in the comments section of this video. All right, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Bye.